We're standing at an important time in history, or a significant time, and one of the most significant things about this age is that you and I are more likely to die of suicide than by being violated by another. This is the one and only time in history that I'm aware of where that statistic is the case. And I think that depression, the pain, the loneliness, and isolation that leads a percentage of people to not only feel that their life is in more pain, more sadness, more dis-ease than joy, well-being, but to believe that that will continue. Is kind of the bleeding, cutting edge of a whole, much larger percentage that have that feeling but don't take their own life or hold on to some sliver of hope. What is it about this time when, on a statistical level, there's less violence? This is important to understand that per capita around the world, there is less violence than there has been in many thousands of years per capita. Some of the ancient history of humankind in the hunter-gatherer stage does not show signs of war and violence, despite it being painted that way. There isn't solid evidence for that. But the question is, what is it about this time in which per capita there's less war than there's been in thousands of years? There's less torture, there's more information, and for many of us, we're living in a godlike state. If you look at the Old Testament, and God is all-powerful, all-knowing, all-being, and by the way, all-loving, though that doesn't entirely add up with the behavior. We have exceeded the powers possible, or imagined possible, of a God 2,000 years ago with Google and things like that. So, what is it about this time? And I think there's a number of things. But the thing that I want to focus on is the response. How do we respond to depression, to grief, to pain, to loneliness, to dissociation to such a degree that we experience our environment relating to us in a sociopathic way? It just means a dissociated way. Dissociated, the opposite of associated, means that stuff is happening that is not regulated or attuned to our thoughts, feelings, and bodies. And if we look at the modern world, it is less attuned to our feelings and our bodies. It's more attuned to our thoughts, our imagination, but it's less attuned to our feelings and our bodies than any environment in human history. The buses that go by, the cars that will run me over, the motorcycles I have to steer through, the smoke that I breathe, the PCBs in the plastic, the chemical load in my body of the 80,000 chemicals on the market today. Infants are being born right off the bat with a higher chemical load than they've ever been born with before. So there is a bombardment of advertisement, of noise, of movement, of light and visual stimulation that has absolutely nothing to do with my stimulation tolerance, my preference, my control. It's to be in a modern world is to be subjected by sights, sounds, smells, movements, tastes, and touch that in many ways are harmful for my body, but they're certainly unregulated. They're not in attunement to, I've had enough, could we just turn off all those cars? So the level of dissociation and the feeling as we move into larger and larger communities without intimacy, the dissociation of community where for many of us, not a single person knows who we are, how we're experiencing the world. This is a doorway into numbness, into depression, into the kind of void that is filled with negativity. Because we have a brain that when we enter certain states, it will proactively look around for threats. The question is how to respond. And I think the response is to look for beauty, follow the heart, and look for deep bonding. I'm going to pause right now and focus on that piece of beauty. My voice, like so many of us, is not trained. It's not about the skill, it's about looking for beauty, looking for the beauty within us and in another. I'm sitting in a chair at one of the Thai Buddhist temples, which is beautifully integrated into the fabric of life. People make offerings, they let go of burdens and negativity. They stop by on their lunch break. I stop by and make videos. There's a regular procession of weddings and photography. There's peace offerings. There's prayers of abundance. There's celebration. And in many compounds like this, there are more than 7 sacred spaces with different meanings, different emotional evocations, different faces of the different gods and goddesses, some animal goddesses and gods like the elephant gods of abundance. And there's this beautiful fusion of, in Thailand, respecting all the different voices. And so there's well, you don't find so much a fusion of Muslim and Buddhist, partly because the Muslims are more like, this is our thing. The Thai and the Chinese temples and religions blend quite beautifully, where you'll find dragons here and you'll find the elephant gods and goddesses there. And there's a nice friendship between the various deities, gods and goddesses of the Thais and the Chinese, because they're not exclusionary dogmas or religions. They bring in symbols of certain energies and make them beautiful, and then show respect to those energies in a variety of different forms. A beautiful response is, I think, one of the most important answers to depression, pain, dissociation, loneliness. A beautiful response to pray, to honor, to sing, to create images, and to deeply bond. I was sitting at breakfast. I've woken up feeling depressed, probably because I'm getting ready to return to the United States. But just talking about, the depression and how it feels and where it is in my body this morning left me feeling immediately 60% lighter. And more importantly, having someone there paying attention, listening, caring, wanting to know how I am and why and in what way, wanting intimacy into me, you see, is a great gift. Namaste.